Hello everyone, 76 Patriot here, and today's video is going to be hopefully somewhat interesting, particularly in light of recent events the past couple weeks. I feel like we as part of the conservative movement really need to look in the mirror and do some soul searching and look at how do we really go about retaking America seriously and concretely. And so I've laid out some steps here, and these aren't just my thoughts, these are kind of based off of facts, faith, history, tradition, reason, precedent. And so here we go. Whoops, sorry about that. So making morality and God central to society again. I believe, you could be the most ardent atheist or agnostic or whatever, but the issue here is we have to make people understand that there is a framework of right and wrong. And personally, as a Christian, um, I believe that is what we need to give people. This nation was built off of the foundation of Judeo-Christian ethics. And if people lose sight of that, which we have, particularly across the West and even in our nation, things start to go awry, just totally out of hand. People murdering people because of beliefs, killing the unborn, people just doing the most insane things because they don't believe. I mean, even the Greeks and Romans, who are by no means Christian, had at least a basic ethos, a sense of morality. And so I think the churches in America are particularly responsible for that, at least not helping with that. They preach a lot of them a woke social kind of gospel message, or at the very least, completely shun anything to do with politics. That's why we've lost such a hold on this country. Because they're too weak and afraid, and that needs to change. Also, evangelizing, you're not only telling people about God, but also uh, telling people how to act. And that certainly ties directly in with politics. And also debating, giving people, again, a coherent worldview and sense of morality. And that's kind of what Charlie was trying to do. Just go around into the fray, talk with people, persuade them graciously and peacefully, but try to help people, and especially a generation that has completely lost any concept of any knowledge of the divine or of laws or respect for uh, government. And so everything really flows from that. I mean, you have to agree at the end of the day that a godless society is, in many effects, a lawless society. Um, so and again, this is really important, retaking and reclaiming the education system. The education system has done more in this country. I mean, the damage, the long-lasting effects of this damage and this rot cannot be, um, you know, understated. It's so bad. And you look at, I mean, the West is destroyed because of these crazy professors. Believe me, I've seen it in my own university, which I recently graduated from. These crazy woke professors that have complete free reign over their classroom because the entire structure of the university is made up of people like that with no freedom of thought. And so we need to really not only dismantle a lot of the education system. Personally, I'm in favor of dismantling the Department of Education. I know there might be debate about that, but we should all be able to agree as conservatives that something needs to happen. So not only there needs to be dismantling, but also rebuilding instead of just maybe leaving it, in shreds once we get, a lot of the rot and the awful people out that are brainwashing children. We also need to rebuild and teach people good things, I think, and really get good professors, good people that love this country, instead of, I was watching a Charlie Kirk debate the other day, and the student just came up and was like, I hate America, it's terrible, it's awful. You should never, I mean, sure, people can have opinions, but you should never say that going to a public university. You should be taught to love and respect this country. So this is huge. And again, this is influencing generations of people, of voters, of future leaders come from this education system. Thirdly, we got to rebuild and reform institutions. And when I say institution, I mean anything that really has to do with whether it's government, public society, um, whether we're talking about the education system, whether we're talking about the Justice Department. I mean, whatever it is, it needs reformed because every area of life in our government, in our society, in our culture has been given so much time to rot and decay. And thankfully, people like Charlie Kirk, like other influencers, like people on the right, have starting to wake people up and see it and understand, make them understand that no, their government is not, it's not for you. It's not good. So we really need to do away with a lot of this, is gut the Department of Justice, gut, a lot of these people, the FBI and the CIA, and when I say institution, again, this is an extremely broad term, um, but we really just, it can't go on any longer, because it perpetuates these really kind of sinister institutions keep perpetuating. They draw more and they attract more, and that hence why we have the swamp. It's like a never-ending cycle, and it needs broken for good, or else it will forever continue into eternity. Again, fourthly, we need a government that follows the rule of law, and really just, again, my notes here are kind of just abbreviations, but basically helps to enact a Make America Great Again agenda. And we can only do this if we have good, clean elections and strong fighters, people that are good candidates, that are willing to stand up for what's right, that actually have a freaking backbone, and don't just kowtow to whatever the latest person says. Um, and so, but a lot of these, it's a domino effect. So it really does start with morality, and I'm not quite finished, but it really does start with all of this. If you don't start with any of this, you'll never have any of this. You'll never have a good education system. People don't know right from wrong. You'll never be able to educate people if you don't know right from wrong yourself. Um, you will never be able to reform institutions again if you don't know the difference between good and evil, and that yes, humans are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. And so, you'll never have a good government. You'll never have a good government that's for the people. Like John Adams said, um, I don't know if I'm quoting him 100% accurately, but he said this Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It was not made for people that are any other, and that's absolutely true. Um, and this is the last. Well, actually, before I go to this, we need good, clean elections, because without them and without having good candidates, we can't have a good government, so that we can do these things: dismantle the education system, rebuild the institutions. So these are all, in some ways, kind of ordered out. You could look at them that way, but they're also intrinsically kind of cyclically connected. Morality, I think, is absolutely at the top, but the rest of these could kind of be done in any order, although they do make kind of logical sense the way I've arranged them. Then, lastly, and you could probably add, an infinite number of things to this, but these are just some of the basic ones that come to mind that are of urgent concern to everybody in the conservative movement, anybody who loves America. People being unafraid and unashamed. You know, people who have the guts to go out there, like Charlie Kirk, like whoever. There's a lot of people I can think of. Rylan Hollyhand, for example, I love him. He's a rising, star, young guy. There's tons of people that are going out there and fearlessly saying, no, I'm going to put myself in the public square and speak my mind and speak the truth. Even in, against odds, going into these colleges. And so, but it takes guts to do that, for people to be unafraid and unashamed. And believe me, I've had more than my fair share of times when I've chickened out in front of, literal members of CPUSA and DSA that I've had in my classes, card-carrying members. And it can be scary dealing with a whole classroom full of those people. It can be terrifying. But the one thing I'm learning more and more, particularly after the recent events, is don't be afraid for what's true. You can change people's minds. You can truly save this country if we do that. But we can only do that if we have institutions that aren't going to kill us, like they were trying to do when people get deplatformed years ago and literally just put in jail for things they said. So we have to be unafraid and unashamed. We can only have a good country if we have people that are willing to say what's right even when it hurts. And so that's basically kind of how to retake America. You could add tons of different things. This is literally the most simplistic thing I could possibly think of. But it took me, a little bit of soul searching and thinking and pondering and earnest, prayerfully thinking about this. And I thought, what? I think these are truly the 5 most important ways that we can do as conservatives And we can do this. Some of this might sound abstract, but we can do this. Whether it's getting involved with the grassroots, involving yourself with people like TPUSA. And again, I'm gonna just plug that. I don't work for TPUSA. I want to. It'd be great, but I'm gonna plug them. Go to www.tpusa.com to get involved with whether you want to start a chapter at your university, donate, buy some merch. I didn't pull the website up right now, but that's it. Go to www.tpusa.com. And so here it is, guys. It's basically it. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.